A request. Leave this world a better place than how you found it. Not just for kindness, but because it was a dreamer. And it was the heart of a dreamer that had ceased beating inside that monstrous chest. Hi, and welcome to Twin Flames Between Worlds podcast. My name is Tabitha.
And I'm Liesl.
Hi, and welcome back to our deep dive of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas.
Woo!
Welcome back. Oh my god, episode 9.
How are we already on this episode? I think you say that every episode, but like...
I don't know. It just feels like time is an illusion, and the more we dive into this, the more... It's like anybody who you know that's read these books and you've watched their progression, it's like there's a level of nostalgia. Oh, we're going through this again. It's almost like I hate to get to it because then the newness of it is, no longer there.
Right.
The kryptonite of every book talker person.
Right.
Is like, once you know it, that's great. And then you get to talk about it with people. But then at the same time, the newness of it, I wish I could
re-experience it for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do it through you.
But now that I know, you'll have to find someone else to do it with.
Well, I know, actually. Yeah, and so now this podcast is kind of that, to relive the experience. But anyway, yes, hello. So yeah, we will be going through chapters 56 to the end of 60 today. So it's like only 4 chapters, but I mean, there's a lot going on. And also we've been trying to, do a couple of smaller episodes before the big final episodes.
It is kind of funny though that our thinking back, speaking of nostalgia, back in our first season, we had episodes that we only talked about 5 chapters, and then the last couple have been like 10 chapters. It feels now all of a sudden like 5 chapters is super small.
I know. And it's like, oh, well, we could do that, no problem.
Oh, it's just 56 through 60, just 5 chapters. It's like, no, not actually. It's actually just as much information.
Yeah, so we'll try not to meander, but we'll see.
No promises.
But yes, again, this is explicit content. We do cuss, as from our intro you can tell. We talk about the sexual content, and be wary of little listening ears, or, don't let your kids listen to this if you don't want them to hear it. And then also, yes, this is for everybody. So this is legit just going through the chapters. Again, to reiterate to everybody, if you want to hear more of our spoilery content, go to the mini episodes. They're really good this season. They're good every season, but I'm particularly favoring the ones we did this season.
Yeah, they've been good.
And so, yeah, let's just get started, shall we?
Let's get it.
So previously on A Court of Wings and Ruin. So, the wall came down. It's a whole new world. Oh, I thought you were going to sing. I thought...
Oh my god, I was trying so hard not to.
I was manifesting it.
Because the last time I listened back to the last time I did it, I was like, a whole new world. And it's like, oh, so cringe.
She does that every time I bring up, it's like, oh, a whole new world, even in our book talks.
Okay, say it again. I gotta do it now.
Okay, so the wall came down and it's a whole new world.
A whole new world.
It wasn't as cringy as she normally does it.
No.
She tried to make it sound pretty for everybody this time.
You're welcome. But also, we don't even talk about the other ones.
But yeah, so the war has, I don't want to say officially has started, because I feel like the war has started since Amarantha, honestly. Like, I feel like it's one of those good books where I can't tell when the actual war started. Because you could even make an argument that it never ended.
Honestly, that is true. That would would be a fair argument. I think the way I would put it is like now the physical war is starting.
Yeah, like the army against army thing. Like the first part of the war where like everybody's subtly doing shit is over. And now we're getting into the soldier on soldier contact. And so, yeah, so other highlights from last, we got to finally meet Elaine's fucking bitch betrothed.
And bitch did he.
And yeah, he got bitch slapped by Nesta Archeron, baby. Honestly, which so sucks because we rag on Elaine so hard, but that was definitely a hard scene, especially for her. But I will rag on her today, so don't worry.
Yes, yeah.
She gets her due when it comes to here. But then, yes, also we found out that Jurian was not actually a spy the whole time. Or well, he is a spy, but he's a spy for them.
He kind of worked as a fake double agent.
Yeah, he definitely Uno reversed them this whole time with who we actually siding with. So so we got some backstory, and now we are heading into the fray. We're at the war camp, and Jurian told us that the summer court was going to get attacked, and so here we are. Chapter 56.
Ooh, this is going to be a roller coaster, even in just 5 chapters.
God, yeah, because
classic Sarah writing.
It's like battle after battle after battle. So I love how the top of the chapter just says Jurian was right.
Didn't expect to see that.
It's like, honestly, that just proved he was, right about everything. So Hybern was ready to attack Summer. So from their war camp where they were at, they all flew in while Moore winnowed Feyre through the skies because she can't really fly on her own yet.
Yeah, she's still working on that. Running out of time.
I just love because right now it's just Kier and the Illyrians. So it's just the Night Court technically fight, like the ones moving to them because nobody else has formed yet.
Right.
And of course Tarquin shows up just because it's his territory, but the fact that Rhys glamored all of his soldiers to take them by surprise, I could just imagine this visual. There is so much visual in this text, in this chapter specifically, of just this mass of wings and Illyrians, and Kier's Darkbringers even sound like they're badass, to where they just appear out of nowhere.
It does kind of make me think of, I don't know if this is a weird connection, but I recently went to go see a performance of Macbeth at the Colorado Shakespeare Festival. And it reminded me of the scene in Macbeth when when the army approaches the stronghold, but they're hidden by the trees. Like they're very camouflaged. And then it's like, oh, just a few soldiers. Psh, but then surprise, we're all here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and also like magic adds such a different element to warfare than like a normal.
Yeah.
I don't want to say a normal battle, but like, people can glamour that like things happen. There's
a typical battle.
There's more strategy, I think, to it.
More power, but also more risks.
So Hybern is just like this big mass of soldiers ready to, the way Feyre talks about it, it almost is like a Twister. Have you seen like the Twisters movie, like that's all new and whatever? I just imagine this swarm of people that it's like, she says it annihilates anything in its path. Which, by the way, Tamlin, Jurian, and the king are nowhere to be seen. Which means that this isn't even the main army. This is just a cabal of people. Like, this is not the main army, which is wild to me.
Probably just like a couple high commanders, maybe not even high commanders, just out there of just, you know what, let's start attack, gigs
they're
up
just,
now that the wall's down, so.
They're just on their own, and it just shows the lack of preparation on the High Lord's behalf. Which I'm not blaming the Night Court for, 100%.
They've been ready. Sure, maybe. In a way, they could have shared more of their information, but obviously the Night Courts were the bad guys at the time, so no one would believe them.
And also, they were trying to stop it before, like, that even happened.
Right.
So, I guess there's stuff to get, like, but again, it just shows that this isn't, like, a host of just nobodies. These aren't grunt soldiers. Well, they kind of are on the front lines, but, like, these commanders are no joke. That's the whole reason Amarantha was scary.
Yeah, she was a commander, and now there's probably a couple of them of her out there. Obviously, Amarantha was a bit more, like, higher up the food chain in terms of commander, but I'm sure the commanders just under her are probably just as bad.
Yeah. So it's like, here we go. This is the first true army on army battle scene of this war.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, like, it happens so much time in these chapters alone where Feyre will just be like, oh, this little thing that Cassian taught me, like, I'm seeing it, or, you know, we have the high ground.
This kind of battle reminds me, it just immediately goes straight to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, you know, Narnia type battle of literally of literally two armies facing each other and then charging at each other screaming.
Oh yeah, and especially Narnia, because there's so much, like, there's like animals and like magic afoot. Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I will say it was just good because I love how Cassian is still trying to teach her warfare, because it's like, yeah, a lot of which just shows how, oh my god, I'm gonna fangirl over Cassian so hard. Just bear with me. Sorry, where am I gonna go?
Cassian.
So I just love how it shows his brains more than his brawn, because, like, yes, is his brawn throughout this whole thing amazing? For sure. But it's the fact that he's just so, like, tactically smart.
Yeah.
That, like, it's over.
He doesn't get enough credit for it, and that's what gets people killed.
Yeah. So, well, I was thinking about the high ground. I was like, the Star Wars thing just is in my mind, just like, I have the high ground. Good God. So all of our boys are armored, helmeted, with black raven winged helmets.
The first time I was seeing them have helmets. I mean, Rhys had a helmet at the Battle of Adriata, but obviously we were seeing through his eyes.
Hot. Terrifying.
Hot. Oh, and hot. Did we say hot?
Yeah. Why is it that it's just like, I could just imagine, like, these, because again, we haven't seen them in full armor. We've only seen that.
I mean, we've seen as in Cass with all 7 of their siphons blaring, but not armor version of their armor, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And helmeted. I feel like the helmets just add, like, an element to it. I feel like that would look dumb on anybody else, but it looks good on them.
They can pull off anything. I guess, yeah, when I was reading, I was definitely thinking more along the lines of, this armor, to me, seems like it's different than their usual 7 siphon armor. It feels like I can picture it being more buff and having more plates in other parts. More on, like, the arms and stuff, arms, shoulders, chest. So like it's a more buff version of their usual armor.
It's battle armor versus, like, a guard armor, or right, you know. So a lot of red flags right at the beginning of this. Of course, like I said, the main players are not here. The Cauldron is not here. The Feybane does not make an appearance, which that was a little crazy to me,
especially since they made such a big deal about that.
Right, which I think was a total power play on Hybern's part. I think they were trying to make them think that, oh, well, maybe they won't have any, and then just bring it out of nowhere at some point.
Sorry, I just thought, like, what if it was after Tamlin left? Tamlin, you know, he does seem to be playing, at least in his words, he seems to be playing a double agent as well. Of like, yeah, I was gathering information back on them. It's like, okay, but we also thought that he was giving them information. So what if he did mention that they knew about the Feybane?
I don't know, man.
And that's why they didn't bring it out.
We don't really know his motivations at this point. I mean, I don't think that he's bad, but also I wouldn't doubt
he's made some dumb mistakes,
that he would do something dumb. Yeah, for sure. So obviously more in favor of are up on the hilltop, because it's just so crazy to me that these girls are standing up on the hilltop, and because this happens again, and they're just staring down watching because they're at the camp, because they're shielded up there. I just love, and we talked about this way before, I think we even talked about this in our first season, I love SJM's talk of warfare. It's not this holistic, oh, this is so cool. It's well, I mean when it comes to the hot guys, for sure. But I love how she just describes such a bunch of carnage. Like, Feyre's whole monologue is just, you know, a blood mud field. And I think it clicks. She understands when she said, oh, I want to fight on the front lines at the beginning of this book. No, you don't. Like, she really understands what that would have actually meant.
Yeah.
That means down in the dirt with the rest of them, fighting side by side, and, you know.
And if you lose your footing, you're dead.
Well, and you know, with flanks and just, like, front lines and stuff, like they have to keep the line and they have to like fight in this tight formation. And then especially with I love how she talks, excuse me, let me say that again. I love how she talks about how you have to trust the inherent people next to you about, you know, them looking at your back, which makes so much sense why guys and guys in particular, I mean it could be women as well, but especially when it's rough times, and this is just I think in general, if you go through something terrible with somebody, like, or a war, or I mean that's why like the Marines and everybody in the army are this, because there's an inherent trust that if you go into battle with somebody that, you know what, I trust this guy with my life. I just did. Quick bonds is all I have to say.
Very quick bonds. And also it's a case of if you're focusing on whether or not you trust the guys around you, you're not focusing on the enemy you're fighting.
Which could then mean you die.
And everyone else around you. It could mean then even further past that, the war is lost or the battle is lost.
So Cassian like slams into the left flank where Jurian told him to hit. And to be fair, I love how she describes Kyr's Darkbringers coming in and sweeping up, cleaning up all the people that weren't. You know what? I gotta give it to the Darkbringers. Like, we haven't heard anything bad about them yet. They're not balking from the forces, so.
They're literally, from this reading, they are nameless soldiers. They're not necessarily grunts, because they're seemingly high fae, because, you know, they're from the Hewn City. But, okay, they must be pretty skilled, at least, to even out with Cassian.
Oh, yeah. And I did actually, I think it was, like, later in the book somewhere, but it was like, I wonder if Kyr was among them. I think Kyr is fighting. Because it's, like, brought up later where, you know, more fighting alongside her dad or something like that. I think he is down there. Which, you know what? He's a fucking asshole. He deserves to die, but at the same time, like, I gotta give him that. He's fighting.
At least in that sense, he's similar to Cassian, dare I say, by the sense of he's willing to fight with his soldiers.
The only thing, and that's a very loose.
Yeah, I was about to say thing. It's a very loose comparison of that one thing.
But I understand what you mean. I also love this very cliche-ness of this one guy, commander, mounted on a fucking horse, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and also the way that Cassian downs him.
Dude, that was wild. So, like, Moore and Feyre are just watching Cassian play this out, and the elegance of how SJM writes this and how Feyre's monologuing this is like, Cassian was born for this. It's like a symphony for him, a dance, shall we say. And, girl, it made my heart pounce. I was like, yeah, this is, again, we don't think about it because we're in Feyre's perspective, but we have only seen Cassian as the rugged bastard who's like really funny and is really good at training and he's really much a badass. He is godlike. He is ascending on this battlefield. She's finally like, oh fuck, I understand why the whole world fears you.
I understand now why Tamlin and Lucian seemed scared of you when I mentioned your name the very first time. So yeah, literally Cassian was born for that. He was born to fight. He grew up fighting. It makes sense that he would become a general, and he lives up and past his name. He lives past his role that he got.
I also just like how it's very musical like, because there are a lot of fantasies and just like battle scenes where they describe battle as a dance, and I appreciate that as a musical dance person.
And because it's accurate.
Maybe like it's cool as a character for me, but I love this idea of Cassian portraying himself to Feyre as very much like brotherly, you know, oh, this is so cool that he's my brother and he's so nice. But to everybody else, he is scary, intimidating. I feel like I'm somehow talking about myself to you. How do I say this? How other people perceive me versus how you perceive me.
You're my bestest friend, your little chinickalookums.
And she's so nice and so lovely. And she's like, dude, that bitch is scary. And like, I can't go up to her. Like,
it's like, how are you friends with her? Because she's the nicest person ever. And they're like, her? Yeah.
This is why Cassian's my fave. We were meant for each other. So, okay, no offense to Azriel and Rhys. I mean, we love them, but like, so Cassian. So, holy fuck, Cassian takes a spear, throws it, hitting the guy off of his, like, it is so cinematical that I'm like, oh my god, just the power and strength, throw it across the battlefield to just hit this motherfucker off killing him instantly.
Without hurting the horse.
I understand why Hybern flees. It makes
Go
so
join
much
the Olympics,
sense.
Cassian.
Oh my god, like, yeah, definitely feels like a javelin moment for sure.
Or go do one of those medieval shows of literal jousting.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I could be the bar wench that has like this that gets picked up just randomly by the random night guy.
You'd be the bar wench though, who's like walking around, giving out drinks and stuff, but then she'll pause to lean on a table of like, see that hottie down there? Damn, he's delicious.
Or I'd just be like, yeah, he's mine.
I went down there. He's mine. Look how good he is. Hey, stop looking.
Or I'd say you could look but not touch.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's just so well written as well, because like I can visualize everything, and it's just SJM doing what she does best.
Mm-hmm.
I love this though idea that like Hybern is fleeing towards the water, and then it's like, ooh, Tarquin, nope. It's like, oh, he's waiting there for them.
So we've seen Feyre use these powers before. Now we can see where those powers came from.
I know, because this is really the first time we're actually seeing Tarquin use his, because we didn't really see him in Adriata.
Mm-hmm.
And also their powers were tempered then, so.
They would have been weakened anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so cool to see, or hear, or read.
All of the above.
Yeah.
There was one detail, though, that was still crazy to me. So Cassian is in charge of, like, Rhysand's, he's Rhysand's general, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they were talking about it, and they were talking about the strategy, they said Cassian was also in charge of where Tarquin was going to be. And it's, whoa. So not only is this man in charge of the Night Court movements, but he's like, they listen to him. They listen to, like, where he should put people. Like, he takes charge.
He is a known general, and he knows what he's doing. And so for the fact, like, of Illyrians to still treat him like shit, when literally he has the power to command a High Lord where to be. A High Lord from another court that he's not even friends with. And then on top of that, he's right about it. Because Tarquin was right where he needed to be.
I wish I could, like, take this shit objectively and just be like, yeah, he's a good general, and just da-da-da. And I'm just like, hot all around. I'm trying to be really good about analyzing this shit from a very practical, but then also the girl brain part of me is just going hot. It's just firing off on all cylinders on the one side. So I'm trying this for you guys, okay? I'm trying so hard.
Trying so hard, so I think you deserve to have moments of hot.
Yes. So obviously this first battle goes well, right? Pretty simple. Like, it doesn't last long, first of all. So Moore's like, the battle's over. And since it's Tarquin's territory, Rhysand lets him decide what happens to those that surrendered, which is wild because he takes some for questioning, but then the others, he literally drowns everybody at the same time to death on dry land.
Getting his revenge a little bit for Adriata.
Oh my god. Whoo boy, okay. Yep, definitely a slaughter. Jesus Christ. This is like some Daenerys Targaryen shit of like, yeah, we take no prisoners. Well, because you gotta think from their perspective, right? Like, what would taking Hybern soldiers even do? That would be wasting. Well, I hate to say that. That makes me feel like not a humanitarian. Mm-hmm. But also, there's a level of like, why? What for? Mm-hmm. From their perspective.
Yeah.
So again, after that, they're moving again to the Winter Court border because they're still trying to get everybody together. Callias and Vivian, and then also Thesian's trying to make his way down, and Helion also. So they're trying to stay in the middle of the territory to get a better vantage. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, they rebuilt the field. Can I just say, I feel like I had a very much a dad moment, my dad moment, of to feel bad for the poor bastards that have to, like, put up the tents every fucking time that they move.
Or it mentions, that the female Illyrians are there, like, as, like, camp mothers. Mm-hmm. So it's, like, I'm sure, like, there's an aspect that they have to help set up, at least, like, the kitchen area and stuff like that. But, yeah, I do understand that feeling of, they are technically, they're Illyrians, there's warriors and stuff, but they have to keep taking down and setting up and taking down and setting up. And if a lot of them are as intricate as Reese's.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I know magic's a thing and it would be easier that way, but also there is a level of having to do all that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and if it is like a lot of the Illyrians, for example, for the Illyrian camps, like they don't, I mean, yeah, if they have siphons, they have like their magic, but other than that, they're just warriors.
Yeah, those poor ladies. But anyway, respect for them.
Respect.
So they wait to winnow Feyre and the sisters after like most of the bodies have been. Rhysand just missed the bodies, which I guess fair. Mm-hmm. Better than trying to like dig a hole for them and then, kind of just poof them away. Elaine, Jesus Christ. I, like, again, reading this the first time, I did not think this at all, guys. And again, like I said, there's nothing in the next books that make me so mad about this. I just get mad about this on principle now. She doesn't do jack shit. She doesn't seem to care. She just literally meanders and sulks from camp to camp, sulking about Grayson.
Eye roll. Massive eye roll.
Girl, I get it. I get having your whole life uprooted and like what, but you were making so much progress, which I feel like was fake. And then we just get to this point where you're just like not doing anything.
She's gonna sleep around while people are screaming from the pain, you know, just casually.
The sounds of the injured and dying.
Yep.
I will never.
Like, huh, what is that? Oh, well.
I will never get over Reese's moans over the injured and dying. SJM, wild. So unlike Elaine, Nesta is looking around at like the playing field, looking at the battlefield, and she's listening as they're walking through to everybody talking about Cassian, which I would too.
She's finally tuned to him.
So a little lore alert here. I mean, it's very swift and sudden, but this is pretty important. Here is our first mention of how Cassian is similar to Analius. His name is Analius, the first Illyrian warrior, and he's basically like a warrior god to them. So it's kind of like the humans Jurian a little similarly, but not the same, which is so crazy to me. Because then, like my brain is thinking, why would SJM put in something like that? Is he descended from him somehow? Like, or you know, that was my first thought when I first read this.
I mean, in a way, because first Illyrian, like they are technically descended from him, but it definitely feels like there's a closer tie from Cassian to.
Well, and they talk about literally, Cassian and Azriel are the most powerful Illyrians in their known history, having 7 scythes. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
That is insane that they have that many. So the fact that they would be like the reincarnation of some warrior god does not surprise me at all.
No. I mean, they were already gods before we even got a figure to compare them to.
They will be the new gods in history.
I do wonder if they tried to go higher than 7 siphons. If they ever tried.
I wonder.
Like, was it just like, oh, 7 kind of gives us a handle on it. Okay, cool. Or stopping there rather than just like, okay, let's keep going, see how many we can do.
Yeah, I know you're making a joke, but I feel like it was based on how much power they had, so they can't have 8 because there's not, they don't have that much.
Right.
I see what you. But yeah, so it's a little nod to some lore element there, but we have to throw it in there because we have to remember that Cassian, Azriel, and Rhysand were young when the last war happened. So now these boys are full grown, hardened in battle. Jesus, Cassian is godlike to everybody. So as Nesta and Feyre are making their way through the camp, Nesta makes sure that Elaine is okay and the camp sleeping, which, okay, I roll again. For the people who don't see our faces, I rolled so hard, my eyes might never come back.
They're still stuck up there.
But this was wild. Nesta, the person who did jack shit in the first book,
who hated getting her hands dirty by just chopping logs,
is in the mud and with a messed up bun. First of all, her skin's all red from the sun because they've been out in it all day. Her clothes are messy from, of course, the mud on the battlefield, and she is helping Feyre cut up bandages for the injured. Honestly, my favorite shifted from Akamath because I was kind of, if I had a favorite sister, I would have said Elaine more than Nesta, and then Akawar just switched that for me. Hardcore.
Yeah,
because that is so much character growth in such a little bit.
Yeah, in what, just over a month?
And you know what? Yeah, I think it's valid to still think that what she did was bogus, because it is, but there's a level in like moments like this where you kind of just have to forgive, like not necessarily forgive, but forget. Like you can't keep bringing up something so in the past, because then you'll never move forward then.
Right.
And she's actively trying.
And I'm actually, it gave me a moment of, wow, I actually feel proud of Nesta right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. So Feyre and Nesta are sitting by the campfire, and Cassian and Rhys come up to sit with them, and I just love when I heard Rhys and Cassian come up, I was, oh, this is totally the one friend is in a relationship and the other one is like, they're like teetering. They know that they are kind of digging each other, but like it's awkward because the others are kissing. It totally gave me the high school moment, but like Rhys is very tired and he like kisses Feyre on the cheek and whatnot. And then the immediate of Cassian sitting down and Nesta jolting up and just being like, just looking at him up and down. And he's kind of sitting there like, What is she doing?
It's like, I just sat down, or what?
She sensed that he was hurt. Do you think she observed it from his movements? Or do you think she scented it?
I think I would lean more towards her observing it, at least initially, just because, I mean, honestly, she could have put it together of hearing everyone else talk about Cassian, of like, did you see this, or blah, 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 blah. Or he did kind of get like sliced there, or blah, 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 blah. But then also considering that she was, I mean, let me back up. Maybe another reason that she was moving around the camp rather than hiding with Elaine is because... I stand by what I said. Hiding. So she doesn't have to wear a fake mask. Anyway, but another eye roll. But another reason, not just because, you know, Nesta seemed a little bit more thoughtful about it since the Battle of Adriata. So she was moving around and being thoughtful about that. But I think what I'm trying to get to, the point I'm trying to make is she wanted to be where she could see Cassian. So going back to your question, I think she observed it, that his actions, the way he moved, was not the same. And I think that shows just how much she had observed him before the battle to be able to know what different looked like.
I totally believe Nesta is a very observant person.
Mm-hmm.
She shows that all the time. Though I will say, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate on this one. I think that Sarah's trying to say that she observed it, but I think she scented it. I don't want to say scented it, but I think she sensed it, because the immediate reaction is what triggers me to think that it was like hurt, like more than observing it. Because like, I mean, you could say that like, you know, he made some sort of movement and then she jolted up, but it was the fact that she jolted to me that makes it seem like she sensed it. It was just like,
maybe it was like some
hurt.
instinct type thing, not necessarily kind of like sensing it, but I guess when I think of the instinct aspect, it's like maybe he sat down and like his sigh sounded different to her. So it wasn't even, she didn't even have time to process the observation, and she didn't have time to school her features or realize what she was doing. So in that sense, instinct, and she just jolted up of like, and then part of me wonders if as soon as she jolted, you know, in her mind, she's like, wait, why did I do that?
She's just like, well, maybe because she's just in front of Farah, maybe she's okay with it. So again, this is such a caring side to her that like, I think everybody at the campfire is like,
what the heck?
What? So, cause like he, you know, he reveals his arm and he got cut.
Why do I totally imagine Cassian being like the scolded little boy of, show me your arm. Oh, just like showing it.
What I love how like Reese is also like very mad. He's like, you know not to walk around with an injury. Damn, man. But then of course like Nesta does not care about anything. She is hyper focused on his injury that she doesn't even notice, I think, that he's staring at her. Because like Cassian is just looking at her in awe, because she immediately goes, she's just how do I fix it?
Fix it, not just like how do I help, but how do I fix it and make you all better?
Oh. It's so sweet. Because he doesn't object.
He just looks at her.
Oh my goodness. But he watched her, didn't take his eyes off her face, the brows bunched and lips pursed in concentration. Cassian gripped her fingers in his good hand. She lifted her gaze to his, thank you. And Nesta did not yank her hand away. Girl!
Come on, just fuck already. War camp's the perfect place to do that.
You know.
Over the sound of injured and dying.
Hey, if everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
You're not out of... I think this is so monumental of I feel like a budding relationship. Not, again, I love Faye Sand, don't get me wrong. But again, I think this was the first book that I ever felt like I was so invested into the side relationships as much as I was invested into the main relationship. Because I could tell you even from experience, like I could tell you Blood and Ash, Fourth Wing, all of those typical book talk books, I can tell you for one, did not ever make me feel like that with side characters and their romances. Feeling that invested in a group of people. They very hyper focus on the main character, which is fine. Like that's a fine, I think SJM just has like such a perfect formula somehow for this, and I just, again, can't be replicated.
Right.
So like the fact that Nesta is a character who, as we've seen previously, does not like physical contact, does not like anybody getting near her. So
it gives me the vibe of back in Akamath when Cassian walked up to her and made her the promise to protect her and Elaine, and she didn't flinch away from him touching her cheek.
Oh yeah, because I think she felt comfortable with him, she just didn't want to say it. So they eye bang for a hot second, and he like thumbs her hand. God. Okay, also, maybe, is this just me? Okay, I'm smiling so hard. But the idea of this small, petite hand in like this big fucking muscular meat hand, the idea of that is so cute to me.
It is very cute.
Because he's like so gentle with her, you know, like those hands were just killing people not moments ago. And like,
that's true.
Do not find at home. Just because a guy has big hands, if he killed somebody beforehand, it's still not cute. But in a book sense, very much so.
Because it's Cassian.
Yeah.
And Nesta.
If I had like a Cassian-like person come home and just be like, yeah, babe, I just killed a bunch of people, and he put his hand on my hand, there'd be a level of, wait, what? And then I would get immediately like, oh, cute hand.
Cute. Wait. I mean, I shouldn't be happy about this, but aw.
You know, that's just me though.
Yeah.
But anyway, digress. On a reread, and especially on this read, I actually got mad about this. I'm not gonna lie.
I got mad about it at first.
Yeah, you did. She did, guys. So she's about to say something to him. Dude, why is it that Nesta throughout this book, she's about to say something and then gets interrupted?
Usually by this one specific person.
So yeah, Moore's like, you're hurt? Girl. Not only does she interrupt, he snatches his hand away. Ooh, the worst thing he could have possibly done.
God.
Why snap? Like, this makes me think that they have talked about this. Like, specifically, Moore and Cassian have talked about Nesta before, and it just gives me this vibe that Moore's like, I don't approve.
I was about to say the same thing. Moore definitely does not approve. And Cassian, wanting to remain her friend, oh, okay. But, like, still when it's just them, or rather, when Moore's not around, he's like, okay, I can explore this more, but oh no, Moore's here. She doesn't approve. I don't want her to get mad.
Well, because their stuff seems so natural, though. Like, I mean, and that's what really love is. You can't stop that from happening.
Mm-hmm. As much as Moore wants him to remain her buffer.
Also, but like, Moore, how do I say this? Listening to Moore about relationship advice probably isn't like the best idea. I'm not saying Nesta's like a great character for a relationship, but also you can't deny chemistry.
Right.
So.
And also, wouldn't you want Cassie to be happy? Like, sure, I get it that Nesta hasn't treated him the best at all times, but he does seem happy when he's with her, even if they are spatting. Mm-hmm. So it's like, Moore, don't you want your friend to be happy?
I mean, and obviously she's hurt by that. Nesta's hurt by this. Like, she immediately leaves and she does not come back out again.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd be hurt by that too.
Rejection because some other female is there.
And I feel like Nesta's one of those people who would never normally be jealous, but also Moore is one of those enigmas where it's like, she knows that they had some sort of chemistry, but it's not the chemistry that she's thinking. Mm-hmm. I think Nesta being jealous of Moore is actually okay.
Yeah.
Now, if she was like, you know, jealous of Fabra with Cassian, I feel like I'd be, okay, that's dumb as fuck. But that's a warranted jealousy, I think, because Moore is definitely playing it up for sure.
And it's definitely also a warranted, like, insecurity as well. Like, I know that you guys have history, and I feel insecure about that.
Mm-hmm. And just on a side tangent, I've talked about this before with you. I don't want to say this is like a, what do they call it? A hot take. I don't think it's necessarily a hot take, but to me, I guess my hot take is I think that people who say that they're never jealous are liars. I am definitely a jealous person pre-relationship, or if I don't know the parameters. If I've told this to Lisa before, but I'm telling the audience, is that before the relationship starts, like when you're in the talking phase or when you don't really know if he likes you back, there's definitely a level of jealousy that you're going to have when, you know, he talks to somebody else because he's talking to you the same way, her or him.
There's a lot of knife emojis that get shared.
Oh, oh, fuck. I do that a lot, don't I? Again, never that I'd ever, like, go up to some girl and just be, like, in their face about something, but...
It's literally an embodiment of the phrase dagger eyes, or shooting daggers with your eyes.
Now, the jealousy when you get in the relationship is something entirely different. Because if you don't trust the person you're with, then, like, there's a problem in some area of communication. Now, I don't think when I've ever been in a relationship, I've never been jealous to a certain extent of another person. It's always been, unless I see some girl at the bar getting up on my man and getting up in his space and he's not pushing her off, well, not push, but like he's not trying to get her off, then of course it wouldn't even be jealousy at that point. It would just be like, get off of a person who's telling you no. Like it's more of a common human decency thing at that point, but like it'd never be. Now, if my man was like, again, there's so many hypotheticals, but like if my man was looking at, you know, my best friend or something and he was giving her ooh eyes, I feel like my immediate reaction would be like, well, what the hell's that? it'd be like, what are you doing?
Right.
Be like, oh, you know.
Still trying to give him benefit of the doubt.
Unless I know that I can't trust you, which again, I don't think I'd be in a relationship. But
right.
Anyway, there's a level of jealousy that I feel like Nesta can have about Moore that's warranted.
Yeah. There's a jealousy that Moore cannot have anymore.
Oh, yeah.
She can't decide what she wants.
I just hated how he also played it. The difference in tone of talking to her, and then he's just like, oh, nothing to sweat. You don't have to worry about it, babe. That level of tone that he had with Moore versus Nesta also probably made her upset.
Mm-hmm. Even though I would see it as differently, as in he doesn't want Moore looking at his injury. Rather, he wants Nesta to look at his injury.
He wants to be vulnerable with her. Yeah, I get that. I think it's a matter, you bring up a good point, because that's a matter of perspective. I feel like some people could take that as like, why are you so cool with her? And then you're just, with me. It's like, oh, but he actually feels like he can be vulnerable with you.
Right.
Which is a good thing.
Meanwhile, Facehand just sitting back and watching all this.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, all right.
If we remember Feyre at the beginning of Akamath, of just like, well, in the middle of Akamath, when she's just like, ooh, Asriel and Moore has some history. I want to learn about that. I'm gonna butt in a little bit here. And then now it's just like, ooh, Cassian and Nesta? Interesting. And now Moore's being a cock blocker. Interesting.
Like, oh my god. So they take care of the rest of the injured, and so she limps back into the her tent with Rhysand still awake and I'm sorry, can't seem to calm himself down.
Reese can't sleep. Let's help him out.
I just love this level of comedy with like, you must be exhausted. And then he like starts stroking her, and then, so if you don't want you to, if you don't want to.
It's like, let me know and I'll stop.
Though he brings up such a fucking good point. I like how he talks about the war camp sex, because it's not, you can understand from like an adrenaline perspective of you fighting for hours and hours on end, and you can literally not calm yourself down to a level of having sex with somebody would slow your heart rate down and then make you want to go to sleep. I think that's a misconception that a lot of people don't really know about sex unless like you've had a lot of it. There's this level of like, you get tired afterwards.
I mean, like, if like we're like being real here for a minute, it's also scientifically proven as well that orgasms literally de-stress you.
Yeah, so I appreciate how he kind of is saying that in uncertain terms. He's like, I need to. He's like, but he's very clear. He's like, if you don't want to, that's fine. He probably would have did it himself. Like,
yeah, he would have. Well,
I also had a lot of guy friends in college, and so they were very much like those people. Like, yeah, just beat one off to calm down every now and then. It's like, fair.
As a female, I wish it was that simple.
Right? It's not. But yeah, for guys, it's so fucking simple. So I just love how this is so quick. This isn't even a sex scene. It's literally just kiss, and then the joining was fast and hard. It's like, all right. I think I appreciate that in a way. It's like, okay, there's still love in the sex, but it's also just, kind of to do it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a romantic, like, it doesn't have to be this 2 to 3 page long sex scene of just, oh my god, he's so romantic, and like, no, they just do it to do it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a good balance to have of being able to have those really connecting romantic sex scenes while also having spontaneous, just necessary sex, rough sex, just for the point of having sex.
I feel like that's way more realistic than a lot of the fantasy describes it as, where it's just like, oh my god, it was amazing. It was perfect. Rather than every time.
Like, it's just a realistic, we're just going to have a quickie because we're stressed.
Yeah. For real. Sorry, the way you said that was good. For real. Though I do appreciate the kneeling symbolism.
Yeah.
Because he's like on his knees again, and he's bowing to her, and
Aww. Whereas on the battlefield, he cannot bow. Like, he can't afford to.
Oh no, definitely not. It was so sweet. He's like, I thought about you every moment I was on the battlefield. It focused me, centered me, and let me get through it. Aww.
It's kind of like the girlfriend watches the boyfriend play their hockey game or something, of just like, they're standing there, it's like, oh yeah, I knew you were watching in the crowd, so I played better.
I love how you went there. I was thinking A Man Worth Fighting For.
Oh.
From Mulan. That's my reference that came to mind.
A girl worth fighting for, you mean?
Sorry, I said that for myself. Sorry.
That's true. Change the lyrics a little bit.
Yeah, why can't I have a man worth fighting for?
You'd be the one on the battlefield, they'd be the one watching.
Hell yeah.
Basically, if you pick up karate again.
Yeah, so, but it's also, yeah, like in a more uncertain terms, yes, it is like the girlfriend watching, but also, you're my home. I want to protect you. There's this level of I have something to fight for.
Yeah.
A purpose. I do like how they talk about the difference between this battle than Adriata, because Adriata was so chaotic because it was like, and even Valaris, like Adriata and Valaris were kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much like, city was in the way. There was palaces and castles, and the ship warfare is different than like battle warfare.
Right.
And like she could fight in those because it was a little easier to fight because she could, make her way. It wasn't just a full-blown soldier on soldier battlefield.
Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that there were like places to hide in Adriata. Like, I mean, yeah, there were. If she needed to, she wasn't going to. Like, if you're comparing that to the actual battlefield, it's a field. Like, there's fighting everywhere. You can't really stop and take a breather.
Yeah, and so I do appreciate how she's like, I don't want to fight in those.
Yeah, which is
like,
valid.
Being a full-blown soldier on a battlefield is not for me. And you know what? Hey, she should never be ashamed of that. And he said, I could never be ashamed of you. Though I do, of course, because it's Rhysand. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate how he says, you could be able to fight down there. It's not that you can't. Mm-hmm. With more training and, more like combat training that way, you could. But if you never want to, that's not something I'm going to push.
Right. There are many things that she could do while they're fighting as well.
Mm-hmm. Like setting up the camps, I guess.
Or like what she does afterwards of walking around and helping people with bandages and healing.
And he does say that. He says it does go a long way for the troops to see the Lady of the Night Court getting down in the dirt, helping the people after the battle and helping the injured. Mm-hmm. It's definitely the subtlety of warfare. I do appreciate how they talk about the aftermath because I feel like a lot of fantasies don't talk about the healers, the people like afterwards coming in and cleaning up. Mm-hmm. It's like Feyre is that person now. So
yeah. And at the same time, she's still regaining the fact that she is High Lady.
Yeah. So it's like the High Lady is taking, once Rhys, because Rhys owns the battlefield, she owns the camp when they're done. Mm-hmm. So it's like one took the mantle and then passed it on.
So very much showing the equality.
Mm-hmm. Although he's like, we are a pair. If you ever wish to fight by my side, it will be my honor.
That would be very scary though. Them fighting side by side.
I feel like he would worry so much about her that they would just get...
He would get distracted and fall behind a little bit and she would just keep going.
Yeah.
He'd watch her back though.
Yeah. So the next day they're at the council meeting because now we're having council meetings with everybody now that people are getting absorbed into the camp. So Tarquin finally absorbs his troops with the big host. Mm-hmm. Nesta doesn't feel anything with the cauldron, that it's being used or anything. Mm-hmm. Rhys checks in with Amren about the book and maybe if the book can help find the army because that's their main problem now. The main problem is that they don't know where the main host is, so then they don't know who to go after.
Right.
Because it's like, if there's just these big bouts of groups and people, they're just gonna weed themselves out. They try to go after them instead of going after the main people.
Mm-hmm. They gotta get to the head first and then like cut off all the toes.
Yeah, because that just wastes their resources and their time and their soldiers. Mm-hmm. So Azriel comes in panting in the war tent about how somehow this army skirted their forces and now is above them into winter. The fuck?
Most likely winnowed in is my guess.
Which is so wild because it's like, again, magic. It's just like, damn, that just adds like a whole new element of
yeah.
It's like, oh, they could just be here in the matter of minutes.
So much for planning.
Yeah, so of course Vivian and Callias have been warned, and it's our guess who comes up with a great idea? Our good boy Varian. So he comes up with this idea to spin a glamour of the army staying where they're at, but then to actually go under a cloud cover glamour to intercept the moving host. Mm-hmm. Which is a good idea.
It is.
It's like in two places at once, technically.
Yeah.
And because they're powerful and the glamour would be that good, like he said to the even point where they'd smell an army. Not just see one, smell it.
Which a war camp would definitely have a certain smell.
Mm-hmm. Shit. That's
and blood.
Shit, blood,
sweat,
and tears.
Tears. Blood, sweat, and tears. And
My
shit. Did you start singing On?
No.
Yes.
Well, I sang it because that's literally, he says blood, sweat, and tears.
He just says blood and tears, but yeah.
Anyway, so again, just to reiterate to everybody, this is like a lot of boom, boom, boom events going on.
Mm-hmm.
So Feyre and Rhysand are weaving powerful glamour as a sight shield.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of a cool use of Feyre's magic because it's part glamour, but it's also partly her shape-shifting magic to make it seem like people are moving and talking about.
Yeah, which is so cool.
That was just very cool. Again, she literally was just worrying last night about not doing enough, and it's like, nope, you did a lot.
Yeah.
Cressida even helps with the summer court soldiers and women empowerment.
Yes, the women.
I love how SJM can simultaneously make me hate a character last book, but then she's like, oh, she's all right now. We're fine with her.
It's fine.
So yes, they weave the glamour, they move, they winnow all day, and so basically Tarquin and Rhys are very much winnowed out by the time they actually get to the battlefield and intercept the other people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it interesting that they knew they were going to come? It seemed like they knew they were coming. Who's a rat, bro?
Right.
Because it's not Tamlin or it's not Jurian because they don't know their movements.
Right.
So it has to be someone in the camp, right?
Has to be.
That was my first thought.
Someone fed a lie to Azrael's shadows.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Because they would know, right? They would know that Azrael's looking for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I love how even the atmosphere of the battle, like there's rain clouds, like there's rain, which makes it like, oh, this battle is going poorly.
Yeah.
This is not going to be an easy battle because also it seems like there's a ton of people at this one too. Like, where the hell are they getting all these people?
Right.
So they're at the top of the battle. First thing, is it just me or is anyone just a little upset that the first thing it says is Elaine ran to her tent once it was built?
Sarah making sure we knew where she went, as if we'd guessed she was anywhere else.
I don't care. I don't care where she goes.
She's just useless.
And this, well, in a minute she won't, but
I know,
again.
but right now she's just useless.
So, unlike the last one, unlike the last battle, it's not only Mor and Feyre standing up at the valley, it's Nesta has joined them from watching below. And Nesta is only watching one armored soldier. She is just tracking him throughout the battlefield.
He got hurt in the last battle. She's not taking her eyes off of him.
And also, because this one just goes so poorly. So it's like the front, there's more soldiers than the last time. They're at a disadvantage.
It feels like Hybern's definitely trying to just wear them out.
Mm-hmm. So that when the real host comes, they're gonna be annihilated.
Yeah.
Well, because they also wasted magic on doing all that spell work for nothing.
Right. Kind of also bad for their morale.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you have to lose and win some battles. Doesn't mean the war is over.
Right.
So what's different about this time is that I kind of like how SJM did a really good job of like giving us one good battle to explain like frontline situation. And then for people that don't know, and then this time the front lines are starting to stumble. The Hybern is breaking through them like unlike last time.
Right.
And Mor is getting antsy waiting up there with them because Rhysand also tasked her to protect them.
Right.
Which I get Rhysand, but also you need her to
right. And she's just like, they need me.
It's a definitely precarious predicament because
Feyre can protect herself, right?
Well, and there's wards around it too. There's wards around the camp as well.
Right.
So it's like everybody's getting mad. So yes, the Feybane makes an appearance finally.
So this is where it was.
Okay, so it wasn't with them. They were just the grunts. That was the quote unquote easy battle. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So Cassian tries to take on. Honestly, Cassian talks so much shit about Rhysand taking the fall for stuff. But he does the same exact thing.
So stupid. Why are these Illyrian males so protective and stupid about this kind of thing?
Yeah, because he takes the brunt of trying to fix the lines by himself against Rhys's orders.
Rhys literally called for him to wait.
Which then makes the girls actively start to worry.
They're like, he's not listening.
Because he's just in a sea of people.
Yeah.
Nesta inhaled in a sharp, high gasp.
Uncharacteristic for her.
So Feyre's just like, Mor is a powerhouse. Remember, she's the third for a reason. So, you know, we need to cut this shit, man. Like, you need to get down there and help them.
Yeah.
But again, Feyre's like, bro, what can I do? Like, I can't go down there. I'm not, you know. So Feyre is trying to, because again, Azrael can't find it. Nobody can find where the majority of Hybern's forces are. So who does she think of? The one person who might know where the host is.
Yeah, the one person who might be able to find it.
The Surreal.
An icon.
We'll get there. I mean, honestly, honestly, who else would she have thought of that would know?
Right.
Because the Suriel can see all.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Feyre pulls Mor aside and tells her to join on the battlefield. Mor's not really... She's like, no. She's very abhorred to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Rhys will kill me if I leave here. It's like, no, he won't.
Also, Hybrid might kill you if you're the only line of defense left.
Yeah, so she's a badass weapon. They need her.
Yeah.
Kind of like a second wave, sort of.
Yeah.
So Feyre needs her to leave, but also it's because she wants to leave to chat with the Suriel. And she says that he probably won't appear if Mor is with her, which I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Suriel would have come out if it was just, if it was more than Feyre.
Right, because Feyre has a relationship with the Suriel.
Yes. Yeah, so Rhys can't be mad about this. Like, if he is, it'll be stupid.
She's doing her job as High Lady, and also as friend to many on that battlefield.
Mm-hmm. God, the visualization of Mor throwing on her stuff, going down there is so cool. This image of a golden-haired Mor in a sea of mud and blood as she's making her way to Cassian.
Well, she always did look the best in red.
It's such a sick image.
Very sick.
But then it's like so frightening because then the idea of because again, you know, because she's golden hair, because of her blonde hair, the idea of them getting swallowed up by the fray, but also because of the mud covering her hair, which, but
gross. That's gonna take a while to wash out.
Good God, yeah. Oh, but I do want to say, before Mor went down there, Nesta said, please help them.
Specifically, if you read between the lines, please help him.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, please help him.
Don't let him die out there.
Yeah, them, as in the rural them. Okay. Because also Cassian is slowing down and Nesta's just staring out into the valley. So, with Mor being gone, Feyre decides she's leaving now. And Nesta's like, are you leaving? Okay. She's just like, you're leaving? Okay. Of course, she's just gonna stare back at the battlefield and just look.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, Nesta seems like a powerhouse. If she really needed to defend herself, she would.
Yeah, especially when it came to Elaine.
Yeah, so they'll be fine. They're also not gonna be, I don't think she's gonna be gone long.
No.
So, I didn't see this coming. Because I was like, at first when she said she wanted to go see the Suriel, my idea was like, well, how is she gonna find it? Like, that specific one? How the fuck is she gonna find him? Like, I don't really know. So, she goes to Elaine to find where the Suriel is. Which, bitch, so she's a seer, but she can also track where somebody is, like an entity in the world.
Right. At first I was like confused because I didn't think that the seer, like I thought the seer was just visions and predictions. But I guess if I step back, it does kind of make sense. A seer would then, the Suriel, be able to reach out for something rather than just wait for visions to come to them.
I guess, like power seems to be something that's kind of intertwined with it.
Yeah.
But is it sus that she picks it up so quickly?
I mean, with our theory about her actually practicing it.
Never having done it before, visualize it, and then is done. Bro, that's sus to me.
Very sus.
But regardless, Elaine can't see where the host is. Like, she can't see where the main host is. But she's like, okay, I guess I'll try. Like, Elaine is just going through the motions at this point. The way she responds to Feyre is just like, okay, why?
Like, because it's necessary for life and death on the battlefield?
She's like, I don't know how to look.
Bullshit.
Like, okay. So, anyway, Feyre shows Elaine what the Suriel looks like, and she's like, why would you want to... Why would you...
Ew, that person. Why would you want to see this person? They look so gross.
Elaine, we understand that you're only skin deep. Is it interesting that she says it moves like the western wind? Yet another fucking wind reference to these weird creatures.
The wind is alive, I'm telling you.
What is it with the wind?
The wind is going to be a god, I'm telling you.
Okay.
Theory.
So Elaine finds it because like Feyre put a map in front of her and she points to it. And guess where the Suriel is?
The middle.
In the middle, near the Weaver's cottage. Great.
Perfect.
Again, they're kind of close to the middle, so it's not that long of a journey.
Right.
But girl,
remember the last time we met the Weaver?
Yeah, she remembers. But also the sequence of events of these chapters are so short and concise, but also so impactful at the same time. So bear with us. This is one of our saddest moments. This was very unexpected. I'll say that at the top. So she winnows in 5 leaps to the middle, which is impressive.
Yep, she's gotten better about winnowing.
Though I do want to say how intimidating it is to be here by herself, because she'd never been here by herself, technically.
Right.
I guess you can't really count as under the mountain because like she was going through the tunnels. She wasn't like in the middle by herself.
Right. She didn't even know it existed then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, bad things prowl these woods. Other than, I love how she's like Striga, the bone carver's sister, the weaver.
Bone carver's sister.
I was shocked at this difference. The idea that the Suriel came to her and she didn't have to trap it.
Mm-hmm. They were just talking casually, like old friends.
I get to say this now because like I wasn't able to before. The idea that Sarah set up such an iconic character to come back in every book, a character that I didn't even think, you know, in the first book you could have kind of just threw it off as, oh, this is some prophecy character that like is just gonna only be brought up once and never heard from again. And turned into, after reading Akamath and, you know, having the second encounter with the Suriel, I was expecting something like this to happen. Like, I was expecting another cameo. Like, it's exciting when you know that there's a level of, oh yeah, we're gonna see the Suriel this time, and da-da-da.
Or like, I wonder what scenario we're gonna see the Suriel.
There's a level of anticipation of funness around that. And I am not ready for that to no longer be the case. The icon himself, what does he say? Have you come to kill me or to beg for my help once again, Feyre Archeron?
Why would he suggest killing him?
Well, I mean, the past couple of times.
That's true.
So the first thing that Feyre notices about the Suriel is that he's wearing a new cloak from the one that she gave him the last time they met.
Mm-hmm. Goes through a cloak real quick.
Which is such a subtle, oh my god, it's such a subtle thing. Bring up, oh yeah, there's a cloak. And then you figure out what that means and it's like, oh shit. Anyway.
After the fact, it's so obvious.
Mm-hmm. Also, let me just reiterate again. He is not hung up. Like, he's not trapped. He is talking to her out needing to be captured. I think you were right the second time that it got captured. Like, the first time, it got captured purely by him not realizing it. Like, by surprise. Mm-hmm. Second time, I think Liesl's right that he wanted to get caught. And then this time, they're just like, fuck it. We don't need this. Like, you know.
Let's, like, stop with the pretending of me. Oh, no, I'm trapped. And just get down to the tea.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the fact that he describes Elaine as a trembling fawn?
Trembling, uncertain, insecure, maybe not insecure, trembling with fakeness.
I feel like it's definitely like a subtlety of a perceived innocence.
Yeah, because everyone always it feels like she's been referred to as the fawn, the innocent one, a lot. And it's just like, if you think about it literally, fawns camouflage. That's how they survive, is they camouflage into their underbrush and their surrounding. So if you think about it literally, me as a mountain person who has been watching a bunch of fawns around recently because it's that season, like literally they hide in the brush. They use their surroundings to camouflage from danger.
I see. Well, yeah, never mind. Yeah, I think it was definitely supposed to like symbolize innocence, but I kind of like I think we also just don't like Elaine, so that's like,
I'm not gonna hide that fact anymore. I do not like her.
But I kind of just like how that's how he saw her. But honestly, when Faye was like, yeah, it seems like a fucking lifetime since I saw him, it does. Mm-hmm. Do you guys remember the last book, like the last time we saw him when like she didn't even know Rhysand was her mate? That feels like a lifetime ago. That feels like ages.
It does.
To have a book have so much happen, but not so much that I'm overwhelmed, but to have so many events happen in sequence that looking back on even the last book, about the same time I'd say, feels like forever is mind-boggling to me.
I think it's also interesting the Suriel has appeared for her in various different stages. You know, when she was human, and then when she was High Fae, and then when she's High Lady.
Honestly, it's a symbolism of her own progression.
Mm-hmm. Like, and even he's been there for her throughout it.
And even the first time they met, she was like, you know, arrow pointed, you know,
asking questions to help her family.
Yeah, and then the second time, like, he was still ensnared, but I don't think she had a weapon aimed at it.
She did not, but she was asked questions to help her friend that time.
Yeah. And then this time,
so it's like, I think the Suriel likes the fact that she is just wanting to help always.
Definitely so. Though I do say I kind of like the foreshadowing of the spying thing being a two-way street. The idea of the idea of Elaine looking down, I don't want to say bond, because it's not a bond, but looking at the Suriel.
The bridge. The mental bridge.
The Suriel also recognizes that he's being looked at. Mm-hmm. I think the idea that is a two-way street and that the person that you are watching will know that you're watching them is something they need to watch out for. I think it was subtle enough that they didn't pick up on it, but like I definitely did.
I mean, at first I thought it was just about the Serial being, you know, a watcher anyway, about like him observing and all that. But what I was more focused on was, what if the Serial actually learned more about Elaine? And like just as she saw it, he saw her and, you know, did whatever he did to gather information or whatever. But now he's dead, so we don't know that.
Yeah. Way to say that. Though I totally, okay, this is an important note that I forgot that I wrote earlier that I didn't mention. You talking about Elaine and her mental, when Feyre showed the picture of the Serial to Elaine, her gate was like her iron gate. So it was iron. It was an iron gate and
covered in flowers
that were not bloomed. They were like crusted. They were closed.
Which I feel like that has some reference.
Which is like symbolic because she's not happy anymore. So yes, so the Serial tells Feyre that the cauldron is cloaking the real arm, which is why they can't see it and why no one can find it. Makes sense. Like that's probably what I was thinking too, but also I didn't even think about that.
Right.
And so the Serial does not know where it is. So shit.
That's not good.
I love how the Serial's words that he uses. He calls the cauldron the bowl of life and death.
A bowl.
So interesting the way he talks. But no fear. According to the Serial, he cannot track down the cauldron, but they have someone who can. Nesta. Which apparently Elaine cannot do. Nesta is the only one who's specific, which is so interesting, and I feel like I'm so excited to understand what that actually means. Why are they so different? Why is their connections to the cauldron so different when they were both made the exact same way? I could understand her ripping at power and her getting more of the cauldron's magic, but they were still made in the same way. Wouldn't they have the same connection to it? Or am I just 2D thinking about it?
I mean, I guess the way that I think about it is how we said in a previous episode of, you know, I think actually in just this past one, of Nesta is connected to the cauldron. And when we were discussing our theories about that, we said, you know, it means she's aware of where it is. She can feel it and feel the fact that it's powering up. So it does make sense to me why she would be the one who is able to track its location. I mean, obviously it doesn't seem like it's going to be so easy, but because it's close, but
yeah,
that part makes sense. But I totally get what you're saying about why Nesta and Elaine are different about it.
Because I feel like there's a difference there that we're not understanding yet.
Or maybe there's less. I mean, if the Serial says that Elaine can't do it, then Elaine can't do it. But but I also still think, you know, nagging on Elaine, I think that she is hiding some of the things she can do.
And hiding it from everybody.
Which in her month of solitude, basically, where she didn't respond to anyone, I'm still on the theory that she was figuring it out on her own.
Like calls to like. It's like, okay, goddamn, we know.
And apparently Nesta is more like to the cauldron.
Which is wild. I kind of, again, the words, the verbiage, it's like, what is it? I have to get it specifically.
Yeah.
So where it is, he and his army shall be.
Which makes King wouldn't part from the cauldron.
Also, do all of these monsters just think Nesta's hot or something?
Probably.
Because, like, he's like, tell the beautiful thief. It's like, why are all these monsters, like, getting hot for Nesta? I don't really understand.
It's Death God and, you know, all-knowing Serial.
What is it, man? Like, I mean, I get it. Cassian gets it. But I'm just like, what? Okay.
I mean, sure. Okay.
Sure, I guess. Whatever. I think it has more to do with the power than it does looks, to be honest.
Probably. It's a beautiful power, probably. I mean, yeah. I guess if we're going with that, you know, these monsters, as you put it, they are all from the earth, pretty much. You know, they were created when life was created on Prithian in some way or another. Any power from the cauldron could be considered as beautiful because it's their creator. So that would make sense as well.
Yeah, so they bring up the scrying with bones and stones to help Nesta find it, because apparently he said, I mean, understandably, he said that she could do it without all that if she was skilled.
But she hasn't had much training.
Which is wild that he says that she could do it without that. But yeah, the bones and scrying, that's totally such a fantasy thing. I heard it and I was like, yeah, I know what you're talking. Yeah, so like halfway through this conversation, I was like, oh wait, unlike the times before, there's no ultimatum to freeing the Serial. He's just giving all of this information for free, which is unlike before.
Yeah, why? I mean, sure, it's seems like he's curious, but it felt like there was something else. And I was not putting 2 and 2 together about the new cloak and
the feeling of need to tell you this before the end kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I won't have time to tell you later,
Right.
which is sad. So, Feyre's asking so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
So Suriel confirms for Feyre that the spell she used to try to nullify the cauldron wasn't wrong. Imran didn't give her a bomb spell, but she didn't hold on for long enough. And so basically what the Suriel is saying is that there is a cost to nullify it.
There's a cost with everything in this point.
Especially with something that is literally the life and death of their world. It wouldn't surprise me that a death is needed.
Right.
To nullify it. Which definitely sent alarm bells going off.
Yeah.
I was like, no deaths. No deaths.
No.
No. But basically he's like, it depends on, he's like, she's thinking, is that still a good thing to do? He's like, well, it kind of depends. Depends on if your allies can stay long enough for you to go to it and for you not to die in the process while doing it. So then it's like, that's taken care of. She's like, will Bryaxis and the Bone Carver make a difference?
Feyre's starting to sound pretty desperate about getting the Bone Carver.
She might have to look in that fucking mirror, bro.
Yeah.
She might just have to roll the dice, which I kind of was thinking that was going to happen. I was, yeah, she's probably going to have to feel like she's going to look at it, right?
It's feeling like that.
I think she actually surprised the Suriel a little bit when she asked.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up what the Suriel says, though, about Bryaxis. I thought he was talking about the Bone Carver, but no, he's talking about Bryaxis here. I cannot see him. He is not born of this earth. His thread has not been woven. I love how he says that about Bryaxis and not the Bone Carver.
Was he talking about Bryaxis? I thought that was the Bone Carver.
No, he's talking about Bryaxis there. Because then she brings up the Bone Carver after that. The moment I located the armament, I unleashed Bryaxis upon it. But as for the Carver...
Interesting.
Because then they talk about the mirror.
Interesting.
So, no, I totally misinterpreted that the first time as well. But no, he's talking about Bryaxis at first. I mean, I feel like they're both not of this earth. They both are.
Right. But maybe the Suriel knows that Feyre already knows about the Bone Carvers, not of this world.
It's weird, though, that he can see one but not the other. Also, it's very interesting that the Suriel calls the Ouroboros the mirror of beginnings and endings. If I'm remembering that, I don't think we heard that before. Which makes me think, I'm like, the mirror of beginnings and endings. I feel like that's like a better name for it. A positive image for it.
It's not as ominous.
As the Ouroboros.
Right.
I love this. God, there's so many good quotes in this section, but specifically this one. You're afraid to look, to see what is within. Only you can decide what breaks you, curse breaker. Only you.
That's a good quote.
What a badass. This is, not only is it just a good quote, but I want to say also why it's so important. Everybody up until this point, Kier, Moore, the whole inner circle, even Rhys, have told her no, you shouldn't look into it. So again, I'm not saying that they're necessarily bad in saying that, but it's almost like they didn't have any faith. Versus the Suriel's throwing all of that to the wind, and he's like, you decide what breaks you. He has full faith in her to be able to look into it and survive it.
It's like, wow, being this powerful.
And it's the Suriel, right? If the Suriel says that, then holy shit, I'll look into it for sure.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the last message, the final statement. Tell the silver-eyed messenger that the key is on the penultimate pages of the book.
The silver-eyed messenger?
There's so many things in that. First, the silver-eyed messenger. Okay. The key to what? Because you just said about nullifying the key to what?
The key to helping with something?
The key to, well, he's about to say to the key to stopping Highburn, but then before he even gets to say anything, not only is the Suriel shot with an arrow, he's shot in the throat. Girl, I did not see this coming at all. It was totally a shocking moment. I was like, bro, what the fuck? Who is this? And then
I hated her before.
The idea of the Suriel screaming as he's screaming on impact and then hearing, why does it talk to you, Feyre, when it would not deign to speak with me?
I wonder why.
I was like, holy shit. This bitch again?
Before I let my anger come over, the fact that the Suriel has a new cloak suggests that Ianthe tried to trap the Suriel. Probably did trap it. So, with the whole thing that Lucian said of, trap a Suriel and it'll have to answer one of your questions.
Mm-hmm.
But like here, if Ianthe trapped it and it still refused to answer the question, it makes me think that it just chose to answer the questions that Feyre asked.
Yeah, because you're right. Lucian made it seem like he had to, like it was an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he only answers questions for those who are worthy.
Mm.
Ding, ding, ding.
Or he just refuses to answer questions for bitches.
I mean, there's that too. There's that too. The shock of not only the Suriel getting, because like out of all the deaths that I was going to think was going to happen in this book, he was not going to be one of them. Also, the fact that Ianthe coming out of the woodwork.
Shock to immediate anger and hatred. That's like, 2 emotions.
I think I was kind of like Feyre though. I was just like, oh, her again? But then also like a level of, her again. Now I can fuck some shit up.
And then another level of, her again? Didn't I crush your hand?
Yeah, so there's 2 Hybern soldiers with Ianthe. So Feyre can leave and winnow out of there. She has enough power, but instead, as she's looking at like the Suriel choking on its own blood, she opts to stay with it and to avenge it sort of way.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's like choking out, telling her to run.
I know, it was so... This sequence of events, bro, I can't. And, you know, she can't heal it yet because the arrows are still in it. And I'm thinking to myself, though, babe, there's no way you're going to heal that. Even if you did it immediately, there's no way. But the prolonged death, I feel like if the Suriel died right then and there, it wouldn't have had as much an impact as it does. So it's almost like the level of, okay, I'm going to avenge you and then I'll come back and heal you. So it's like Feyre still had this hope in her mind that she could, you know, get them to get away from the Suriel and then her come back and be able to create a miracle. So that level of hope just also makes it so much more hurtful to Feyre. So Ianthe villain monologues for a bit, saying that the king undid the magic that Feyre did on her about, because I think it was, you know, you'll never look at another male again or something, and then, or you won't ever touch a man unless they want to.
Right.
And she's like, you'll live for, it was something very hyper specific of like, you'll live in constant torment of me coming after you or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so, but she can't really use her hand very well still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, she crushed
At least.
And what the fuck? Tamlin taught her how to catch a steer? Why? Why would he tell her that?
Was this when they were like younger and growing up and he learned?
Or maybe this was pre-war. Maybe this was like during Akamath, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Because I bet they talked about, you know, Feyre catching the Suriel before. I don't know.
It's like, oh, how did she catch the Suriel?
Good God. So the Suriel wouldn't talk to Ianthe, so they put a tracking spell on the cloak to go off when it was in Feyre's vicinity.
At first, I thought, well, first of all, putting a tracking spell on anyone is just BS. But at first, I thought that when Ianthe appeared, that she had been listening to everything the Suriel said. And so I'm like, oh, that's not good that she knows that now. But hearing that the tracking spell goes off, suggesting that they were further away, like, gave me a little bit of hope, and also had that other feeling of the Suriel knew he was being tracked, and then that's why he was trying to answer all these questions quickly without being cryptic.
Yeah.
They were coming.
Yeah. Which is
like he knew that they were tracking him.
And he came anyway.
To warn her.
Because the Suriel was willing to, well, also not only that, but the Suriel was willing to be like taken into custody, like i.e. getting tortured to death for her to run.
Yeah.
So instead, I love her reaction. She just pops out to the 2 guards, looks, and is like, God, this bitch still underestimates me. 2 guards? Please.
Right. After she took down Brenna and Dagden.
With her power waning at that time. Like, it was literally fading.
Almost gone.
I love how she's just like, I should have slit your throat in that tent. Probably should have.
You probably also could have killed her after killing Brenna and Dagden.
Let's just say there was many opportunities that she could have killed.
Yeah.
But this one takes the cake, I'm gonna say. I think this was worth it.
Yeah.
So Feyre breaks into an all-out run. Because I didn't really think what she was thinking of, because I forgot where they were. Because I knew they were in the middle, but I kind of was like, where is she running to? And then I went, oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
Is it interesting, though, because I read this on this reread, but I didn't on the first. When she's running, the forest itself is making its way for Feyre to go by, but impeding Hybern and Ianthe. Branches and, like, roots coming out and shit, while it's, like, path is clearing for Feyre.
So cool. It's like the forest. Well, it's the death of the Suriel is, like, the Suriel is dying, and the Suriel was one with nature, could have been one of the creatures from the middle anyway.
Because I think reading that this time, it kind of suggested that it was Striga. And a little bit that was doing that.
I think that would make sense, considering she is kind of like in charge of the middle, basically. She rules controls the middle. And as, you know, we didn't really get any powers of hers rather than, I mean, we haven't gotten any powers from Striga except for the turning creatures into things to build her house. But that could be one of her powers because she is a death god.
Yep.
So it would make sense if she has that. I hadn't considered that. That makes sense.
But I also do like the Snow White aspect of like nature just saying fuck you to the people and like
giving
just
her
kind
time to get there.
Yeah, to get there before them. So I was surprised. She runs straight into the cottage. No qualm. She runs right again, which is such a different mirror to how she did it in in Akamath, where she was so the trepidation of even just walking in
versus now like she goes in and God, she is so like physically strong at this point to be able to keep the door open.
Yeah, no, at first I didn't really think about the door being open because when she was in there before, the door didn't close on her immediately when she walked. But now because the Weaver knew who she was, it automatically closed. Or it automatically would have wanted to close. I love how it's a fake out. Like she's like, help me, to make it seem to Ianthe like she's seeking shelter, like there's someone in there that she knows.
Also, Ianthe is so dumb to think that she would know just someone in the middle.
Dude, do they not even know their own lore? Because, like, Rhys made it seem like everybody knows that the Weaver of the Wood owns this place. How the hell did they not know what this place was?
Maybe they didn't think, like, they knew that the Weaver ruled the wood, but they didn't think she lived in the cottage, or maybe the cottage part wasn't, like, known. Or they were just so dead set on finding Feyre, and they thought that she wouldn't be dumb enough to run into the Weaver's house.
If it was that dangerous, yeah.
They're like, that can't be the Weaver because like Feyre would be dead already.
But any cottage in the middle of this dangerous place? No.
That's so stupid.
Dude, I was like, wait, do these dumbasses not even know the Weaver of the Wood? If that is true, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, the Highburn people, I can totally understand them not knowing this.
Right, because it's like, not their lore.
But Ianthe, like, to be fair, she also didn't live in Prythian for too long, but it seems like the Weaver of the Wood is like, I mean, we don't know the person that's the other death god that's in the lake, but, you know, we know of him.
Right.
So it's like, you don't know?
God. And I will say, though, I was intrigued by the fact that even though Feyre ran in there and she was like, you know, fake shouting for help me, the Weaver didn't attack immediately. From our past experience, we know that the Weaver can move quickly, considering how she almost hunted down Feyre in the chimney. But here, she was just like, you know, talking slowly.
Oh, it was creepy as hell, though.
It was creepy as hell, but the fact that she didn't immediately, it's like almost like she did, to your point about helping in the woods, it's like she did sense that there was a bigger prize than just Feyre.
I think she was curious because like before, because like you bringing up a good point about the difference here is like before she was angry because, well, I mean, Feyre literally tried to burn her house down.
And burned her collection, probably a couple years of work.
So, sorry, making it sound so like, oh my god, my work. It was people. Jesus.
Or other creatures.
So the fact that Striga, when she comes, so she, again, like Liesl said, she's holding the door back, so it makes it seem like they'll like walk inside and make just a seemly mistake. But can I say, she doesn't immediately attack her, Liesl said. That's interesting, because she was fairly pissed the last time they were here. So the fact that she's just kind of walking around, because again, I could just imagine Feyre like feeling like she's holding this 2-ton door back, and like she can't even move. And you feel this creepy, like I could just imagine, I know it's not this, but like imagine her on the ceiling, or like crawling or some shit and getting closer to her, a weird shining sort of thing.
Yeah.
I do love how Striga says she smells the bone carver on her, but I'm gonna call bullshit here. So I understand that Feyre, the last time she went in there, you know, Striga didn't know her, whatever. She went to the bone carver right before she came to the Weaver. How the hell did she not smell him then?
Right.
It wasn't like there was, like, it was almost immediately they went from the bone carver to Striga. How the hell did she not smell him then? Or there was no mention of it. I can see the bone carver then coming back when we saw him after seeing the Weaver. It's like, oh, I smell my sister on. She saw her before. Like,
I mean, maybe, you know, playing devil's advocate, you know, maybe Striga didn't sense the bone carver, smell the bone carver, whatever, because, you know, she was focused on her work, or the fact that Feyre was nearly invisible when she was creeping through the house.
Yeah, because she was new.
But now that she's not new, and, you know, the Weaver knows her, how she is, how she smells, how she feels, then it would make sense of like that she would be like, oh, now I can sense that my brother.
I guess I
can. My brother.
I guess I can understand that. I'm just saying. And I love, oh my god, girl. It's so great. So she says, who did you bring, little wolf? Who did you bring to me? Again, remembering back into Akamath when Feyre was talking to herself in her mind, she was saying, I'm a wolf. I'm a wolf. Like, that was her big mantra. Is this a subtle way of saying that, like, Striga heard her thoughts? At least sensed something? Because why the hell would she specifically call her a wolf?
I think it's interesting. At first, I was thinking along the same lines, the same question. Maybe Feyre was actually speaking aloud in a way, but also hearing the thoughts could be a potential as well. Like in the same way that the bone carver was like, it's not polite to speak mind to mind, later on. Back when that was her mantra, Striga at the time was just, what little mouse is climbing in my chimney?
Yeah, because at the time, she wasn't.
She called her a mouse. And then she's just like, I'm not a mouse, I'm a wolf. And now it's, instead of little mouse, it's little wolf.
Yeah, because it's so much character growth, man.
Yeah.
So the creepy, the visualness of Ianthe and the guard walking in, just very subtly.
Can't hide from us.
And then they didn't see me in the shadows. Dinner, I said. Whirling around the door, let go to handles, the door slammed shut. And girl, the visual of Ianthe holding up a mage light and just seeing the face of Striga, the death goddess, and to see their demise before it happens is priceless.
Also, Feyre had to move pretty damn quickly, because if we recall, the door shut very quickly back in Akamath. So for her to be able to get out the door, part of me thinks that Striga saw the dinner that she brought, and was just like, okay, I'll let you go. This is delicious.
Yeah, I think so too. Which is, that is so cool, because it's also the symbolism of a priestess being eaten by the same god that they supposedly are praying to.
Right.
Is kind of cool symbolism there.
Because that priestess has fallen. She fell basically immediately.
Well, because I feel like Ianthe prays to gods that don't really, I don't want to say don't exist, but that aren't really here. This is a god who is a death god who is the flesh and blood in the flesh, and they don't get worshipped anymore. It's a total fantasy thing of these gods don't get worshipped anymore, they're outcasts, and now this bitch is getting eaten by her.
Honestly though, my thought as soon as you said that was just Ianthe probably prays to the god of sex or pleasure or something like that.
God of sex.
Which you're probably right, probably doesn't exist that we know of. So it probably is more fake of just bringing good into this life. It's good for you anyway.
So yes, Ianthe, ding dong, the bitch is dead. Thank God.
Woo!
So excited. But also I hate that we got another death. This other death shouldn't have happened, but also...
I said we had shock from the arrow, and then we had immediate hatred and anger towards Ianthe showing up, and then to wonderful satisfaction of her miserable death, the screams ringing throughout the forest.
Yeah.
And then to this deep, deep sorrow.
So Feyre makes her way back, and the Suriel, it's dying. This totally makes me cry every time, especially when I listen to it. I love the symbolism and all the foreshadowing in this. So subtle, and I love it. Because the whole, let's just start at let's beat by beat this. So the Suriel's, she's like I said before, Feyre wants to heal it. And the Suriel's no, you need to save your energy so that you can get out of here. Which is fair. I am already gone. Stay until the end. The fucking foreshadowing of SJM to bring that summer court fairy from the very first book and to have the Suriel say the exact same thing that Feyre said that she would want somebody to do her at the end is just big teardrop.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, we already said this, but Feyre is now getting told the Suriel knew it was being tracked. You were kind. You fought your fear, and you were kind. God damn it. It's kind of a tough life lesson, to be frank. The idea that, so the reason Ianthe and Feyre are not only different between each other is the idea that being yourself and being truthful to yourself, to face your own fears and to, I don't know, be honest about your intention, or not be honest about your intentions. When you appear as yourself, I don't want to say you'll be more liked, but people will appreciate it more and they will see you more than if you perceive or you put on this facade that you think people are going to want to see. society. And this is something that I've had to learn throughout adulthood, and which I still have yet to actually firmly grasp. But this idea that when you're truly yourself, the people who are actually good around you and that will, be in your life will appreciate those things that you think that you should change for society. Or you think that, oh, this is a personality quirk, or like, I shouldn't be truthful about this because society wouldn't accept it. Or some people that actually matter, and the people that see you and see the truthfulness in being you will be the ones that matter and appreciate it.
Amen.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you crying. It's SJM teaching another lesson in fantasy book, which I did not think was going. I thought I was just going to read this book and it was just going to be just some fun shit that I could read, and then turned into this whole like philosophy of, honestly, just an SJM philosophy of life, relationships, life lessons. It's just wild. So we also now understand this. Fair Archeron, I told you to stay with the High Lord and you did. Girl, not only did the Suriel foreshadow this from the very get-go, he's saying that there was a double entendre the whole time about stay with the High Lord and see everything righted. He meant Rhysand. Now, I will say, I will covet this by saying that I think it was a double entendre. I don't think he just meant Rhys the entire time. I think it was, because the Suriel's past, present, future kind of thing. I think in the moment he meant him, but also...
And then later on he's like, that actually worked out.
Yeah, actually, it works. Keep going with that. Again, I think it was a moment, yes, stay with the High Lord, but also he knew what it would futurely mean.
Yeah.
Though, interesting, he says that is not yet filled.
Right.
Still stay with him. Yeah, I will, bitch. What? Of course I will.
Are you saying something's like gonna happen if I'm not with Rhys?
Which you totally thought at this point as well. You were like, she was texting me and she was being like, I swear to God, bitch, if Rhys dies, I'm going to riot. And I was like, you gotta get to the end, man. Like, I don't know. And she's like, yeah, you do know. You've read it before. And I'm like, yeah, but I won't tell you.
Well, I don't know right now when you're asking me.
It very is ominous, for sure. So it's like, so much is happening right now, but that's also like a red flag to me. What do you mean? Okay, girl, this was on this read, but I don't even know your name. Does it matter, Cursebreaker? The Suriel had a name? Like, just like a god? Like, wait, just a birth name?
I mean, because it makes sense. The Suriel is its species.
Kevin.
Is its race.
That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Kevin the Suriel.
It's gotta be some fantasy name of just like Drathus or something. Is it a coincidence that the Suriel says bad things are coming and then Helion shows up out of nowhere? That shocked me to my core. I was, out of all the people who I expected to come, he was not one of them.
Yeah.
But again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But here is the thing that even when we talked about in our first book talk, Liesl was in literal tears over. The last request by the Suriel, Fair Archeron, a request. Leave this world, ... a better place than how you found it. And just with one last breath, I understood why the Suriel had come to help me again and again. Not just for kindness, because it was a dreamer. And it was the heart of that dreamer that had ceased beating inside that monstrous chest. And then silence. I don't know about you, but this definitely gave me like a Rue and Katniss in the Hunger Games, because the Suriel like looking up at the canopy, and then just Feyre sitting in this really dangerous forest just weeping.
She should have started singing.
Well, I don't think Feyre can sing, but
ignore my sniffling if my microphone picks that up. But I think once I got past the tears in the times that I've read this, I've cried every time I've read it or listened to it with the graphic audio. I think it's interesting that the Suriel tells Feyre to make the world a better place, like make a better world. Whereas, the past couple times when we've heard the better world thing, it's always, there is a better world somewhere. Blah, blah, blah. It's somewhere. We don't know where. Whereas the Suriel's just like, no, you gotta make this a better place.
I agree. 100% I agree. Because it's like, especially with this war element, there is an idea that the world is going to be remade. And it's going to be remade by the victors. So
make sure you're a victor.
Yeah, make sure you win, please. I also love the idea that the Suriel was, like, this idea of dreamers, the idea of the Night Court, the idea of these people throughout this world who are like, they're not just okay with the status quo. Characters like Tamlin and even characters like Lucian to a certain degree, I think he's coming around, but, Tarquin is one of the dreamers, I would even say maybe Varian is one of the dreamers. There's characters throughout this entire thing, Baron, like Tamlin, Eris even, that want to stick to the status, they want everything to sort of stay in the same way.
Yeah.
Versus everybody else wants to progress because the world is progressing, which is such a mirror to reality that it's just wild to me.
Yeah.
Of all these people wanting to stay where they are when like the world is advancing, and why shouldn't we also advance with it? Why are we fighting it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's gonna take over anyway. Like, might as well go with it instead of trying to force this division.
Right. Go with it and get a seat at the table rather than be left without any choice and decisions.
Yeah. So yes, as Feyre is weeping in the forest, yeah, Helion just appears. I was shocked. What the fuck? Out of all the people who would come, I was not expecting him.
Yeah.
But at the moment, she really doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, Helion with the wards.
She tells Helion to give him the cloak on his back since Ianthe... Well, and first of all, when Feyre was describing this cloak, apparently it was rag. Ianthe gave the Suriel rags.
Part of me... Okay, so I wonder if... Because, you know, the cloak that Feyre gave the Suriel was a nice cloak. It was a really nice cloak. Part of me wonders if Ianthe, when she captured him, she made him wear the ragged cloak, and probably the tracking spell was on that cloak.
I wonder. Well, it also just shows that she had no respect for anybody. I like the symbolism, though, not of just, you know, the Suriel being burned in the cloak, but the idea of it's like the one last offering, the one last cloak.
The thank you for all of the questions it did end up answering.
Yeah, so this is my offering to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Helion, you know, blind. Apparently he can also kind of use fire in a way because his light is so fucking powerful that he just incinerated it. And
she calls the Suriel her friend.
I know, even after all that.
3 meetings.
As warm light whisked us away, I could have sworn that the pile of ashes was stirred by a phantom wind. Wondering if the Suriel is really truly gone. Because I will say something that I feel like in other SJM books, but not this one, they kind of talk about it, but I feel like it's gonna be one of those like Massverse things that I don't want to get into too much, but the idea of what does really happen after death for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, that's what the Bone Carver really wanted to ask about, but this idea is like the spirit's still around because with the Suriel and whatnot, that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting because I don't know, I don't think really even they understand.
Yeah.
But yes, Helion takes her back to the war camp, and I'm being a dick, guys. That's where we have to end. I can't go past this. Like, there's so much that happens after this, we can't.
Yeah. As much as it is annoying, she does make these choices for a reason.
Yes, and they're good choices, I'll say that.
They are. And in this aspect, I appreciate it because now I feel very emotional.
Mm-hmm. You kind of have to end there because trying to, like,
you
get
need
amped
to take the break from that roller coaster of emotions that was 5 chapters.
Yeah, so that's the end of our deep dive section.
Okay. I'm fine.
God, I have to be hot for Cassian after that? What the fuck? How can I switch a flip like that?
Back to the beginning. All right, well, after that roller coaster of emotions, we're now going to move on to our second section where we talk about the wonderful graphic audio that also has that roller coaster of emotions. And Tabby's getting hot already, so I'll let her take it away.
Okay. Hi, guys.
You got this. Make sure you breathe.
Welcome back to Tabitha freaking out over John and Anthony.
AKA the graphic audio.
Yeah, so, yes, we go up back to chapter 56. This was when the Jurian was right, and, like, the battle is starting and whatever. Mm-hmm. This very epic music at the top. It was very, like, the difference of this fantasy music versus the other fantasy music throughout the entire thing is very just war drum-like. This idea of the drums is such a constant theme through this, and I really appreciate that difference. Mm-hmm. God. Sorry, after the surreal death thing, and then just me being, oh my god, John yelling orders?
I mean, okay, just real quick, that kind of, I wanted to say this in the main section as well, but I thought it was not the right time to. That's you fangirling over Cassian yelling out orders kind of gives off the same vibe of that one episode that we did a while back of just me fangirling over Asriel taking orders.
For sure, I got my share of it for sure. Why do you think I was making fun of you so hard? Because that's something like I would do. My god. But yes, no, for all seriousness, hearing just shields in this big John deep voice, I was like, okay, I will pick up the trash.
It's like yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, General. Like, you have to have a big presence for that voice, and it just it delivered for sure.
Yeah.
I love the transition of then Melody's narration from just her to the sounds of the battlefield, because like she's narrating a lot of what's going on, like how they got there and, you know, re-shielding and whatnot. And then you just hear this den of just clanking swords and, you know, screams and shit. And it was
how swords works.
Yeah, that's visually I did like a little clinking of
basically picture knitting, 2 knitting needles clinking them together.
Apparently that's what I was doing.
That's what it looked like to me. Sorry, continue.
Girl. I loved the music for when Melody was narrating about Cassian and the symphony. That was perfect.
Yes.
Just this very beautiful, elegant, like it almost seemed like a waltz.
When I listened to it, it definitely made, obviously a very clear picture of it. There's like this movie scene basically where it is fighting, but the fighting is like slowed down and it's this operatic song that's just going on while like people are like being and like in the air and swinging their swords down and shields are getting blown off, and it's like all this just slow-mo fighting, and it is very, very funny but very surreal of just like this is literally a dance, and all the battlefield sounds like cut out and it's just the opera. And so that's what this music reminded me of.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So then, of course, when Tarquin comes in, hearing the water was wild. Hearing the drowning, like again, we didn't hear like people dying.
Glug glug.
Yeah, we didn't hear those, but this level of just like them dying. It was like, okay, ooh, girl. So them sitting at the campfire and this idea of hearing like the helmets and the armor clink. I don't know why that was satisfying to me, but it was because it was like they were sitting down. I'm such a visualizer. I like to visualize things in front of me. And so that's why this graphic audio is really good for me. Because I could just picture me sitting down at the campfire and then just hearing clanks of armor and just be like, I can visualize, okay, he's here and he's here.
The proximity as well.
Yeah, and it was just so well done. And this was such a subtle one that I didn't really think, like, I loved the sound of Cassian unveiling his armor because it was kind of like this slow moving sound. It was like, he tapped the siphon, then it was like...
I guess I didn't really absorb that.
You could hear that the armor was like moving up his forearm and like disappearing or whatever.
Now that you say that, I can picture it. I hadn't clocked the sound before, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it was such a subtle moment, but I was like, yeah, that's what you'd picture. They did that at the Battle of Valaris too, when they put their armor on.
Yeah.
This level of Iron Man, of level of, the armor's coming on or whatever.
The nanotech.
Yeah. Girl, I'm gonna cry. God damn it. This quick Nessian moment, because that's their ship name, this quick Nessian moment of the deepness and the vulnerability, and I feel like it was more the vulnerability that was hot, was this level of, you don't need to, thanks. And then them just intensely staring at each other. I was getting like, red. I was like,
you can actually see it.
I was like, okay. But it ended quick. Speaking of quick, so the main audio moment of, can I just appreciate how we talked about how the sex scene was like quick and fast in the writing. It was quick and fast in the audio just as much. I will let you know. It was... I think I had to like rewind it because I was like, wait, it's over?
You went back looking for more?
Well, because I was like, it was more of like, why did this just, wait, what? So, because you heard the kissing, because like Rhysand was kissing down her neck, and then they kissed once, and then all you heard was just them like orgasming.
Yeah.
Like, it was such a quick flip. It was like clothing movement, and then,
like a few gasps here and there, and then it was over.
And I was thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, that was quick. What the hell?
That's why they call it a quickie.
I mean, I didn't think it was going to last long, but I just thought it was funny that it jarred me because like when I was reading it, I was also writing notes. So there was a level of, I forgot how short it was. And so I was like, okay. And then just like, I hear this big, I'm like, oh geez.
Like, wait, I didn't have time to write my notes about that.
It's like, it was too quick.
Guess I have to re-listen to it so I can write my notes.
God damn it, Anthony. This level of, I was thinking about you the whole time I was down. God damn it. Why does this, I feel like a broken record, but at the same time, I have to appreciate a good voice when I can.
Anthony's voice is just amazing.
This is my only time I'm allowed.
She even controls like her desire to talk about Anthony's voice so that she only talks about it in the graphic audio section.
Because it's such a good switch of this like very raw, like, okay, like, I'm needy to then like, I thought about you and romantic, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, well, he does the very good switch of, like you said, needy. Like also that element of, we mentioned in the main section, of his adrenaline still going like really high. And then you can hear it gradually. It wasn't even like an immediate switch, but Anthony did it just right where it was a gradual slowing down of, okay, the adrenaline's leaving me. I'm starting to down. Here are not necessarily any of my fears, but this is my genuine thoughts. I'm back to being my sweet self.
Yeah, for sure.
But an incredible skill had to go into that.
Which he probably like took, what, a take?
Maybe two.
Nice. But I will say, I didn't bring this up in the main section because it didn't really matter, like, plot-wise, but when Varian is talking to the group about, so the next day, about his plan, Cassian was so impressed by Varian that he's just like, when you get sick of playing in the sunshine, you know, you should come to Valaris sometime. Sorry, it kind of jarred me because, like, I don't know why that specific line, like, very much made me tighten up, because it was just, there was a level of, I was writing, and then this very just deep voice, you know, of course, John comes in and he's just like, hey, if you don't want to, like, somehow subtly flirty.
I think it's because you want to go to Valaris and play.
When I get... So the music, sorry, next thing. The music transitions were spot on between, like, because again, like we said, it was kind of boom, boom, boom through the chapter. And so the transition and, like, because I will say, the idea of transition music or just music between scenes is also such, like, is setting the scene itself, like, so, like, the big battle scenes, obviously it's subtly telling you that yes, it's very high tense, and, you know,
it's directing your emotions.
So they definitely transitioned in a good way where it was like, okay, calm, we're together, and then, you know, we're kind of more in this trepidation, and then full out warfare. The music drums during the second battle was badass because it just also showed how more scary it was than the first one. Also, the rain sound effects were cool. Like hearing people slosh through the rain and
the mud.
Even hearing the warriors kind of having to battle through the rain was interesting to listen to.
I must say that the Foley artist must have had a blast making this.
Oh yeah, especially for this third part of this graphic audio.
Yeah.
Also, going on then to chapter 57, when Feyre leaves the camp, this dun-dun of, like, her, like, deciding to leave, it's like, hey. I will say, again, even though we rip on Elaine hardcore,
Brianna does amazing making us hate Elaine.
Making us hate her, but I also, like, appreciated it in a certain way. Because I was like, this level of, why? Okay. I was like, girl!
This turned me off so much.
Where the hell was that bitch, like, 2 chapters ago? Like,
right?
Just like, we're doing this. It's okay, where's that girl?
Right, apparently dead because Grayson rejected her.
Also, just sounding so defeated.
Yeah, Brianna did great with that.
Which again, I get, but also, Jesus Christ.
Put yourself together.
So then I love the music shift, and silent shift of the middle, because the middle is so quiet because of how scary it is. I was like, ooh, I love that. This, like, intense battle music to all of a sudden just shh.
Which I think was something I noticed as well that we mentioned about Akamath. I mean, at the time I hadn't listened to that episode, or hadn't listened to the graphic audio for Akamath when we were going through it. But like going back and, you know, looking at all your old notes about it, it did also have a sense of that in Akamath. Of even though like they were just going from, you know, back in Akamath having Rhys and Feyre, you know, casually talking, the moment they got at the middle, even if they were still casually talking, there was more of a silence, a blanket of silence over them.
Yeah, so I just appreciate that eeriness of it. And then, of course, the Surreal's voice is spot on of just like this, like, hiss nature. It's just like, Feyre, Artron. It's like, okay, give me 5 feet.
I still like the Surreal's voice, though.
No, it's great. It's spot on.
So
but
cool.
I'm like, again, I think my favorite part about the Surreal isn't even the voice. It's the clicking sound.
Yeah.
Of, like, the frick. Like, it happened every time. Yeah. And also the breathing. The breathing I liked for some reason. Because it was very, I hate to say it, but it sounded very wet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can hear that, yeah.
Like, it just sounded like he constantly had water in his mouth. Like, it was like... Like, it's like he had drool in his mouth or something. Like, it just, it felt like it was constantly had water in it.
Made me wonder if it was, like, because, like, that was his way of panting or whatever. Like, if he had, like, hurried to her.
Maybe, yeah. Also, the sass on the Surreal this time was such a trip. This level, especially when talking about, when she asked about nullifying the cauldron, he's like, you think you could just go up to it and, you know, it not have a steep price? It's like, goddamn. Like,
that gives off the same vibes of, you didn't know about that? Interesting.
But it was, like, way more violent. Not violent, but it was way more, like, forceful this time.
Because it gave off something else different from just the text. It showed he seemed stressed. For him to lose his cool.
Almost like, God damn, do I have to explain everything? I will say, the big Surreal moment that, like, when they did the monologuing that I loved was his gasp at the mirror line when talking about the Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Because there was this level of, like, I don't even know if I could replicate it, but it was just, like, or something like that. And I was like, ew. Like, that was like, I said it out loud. I paused and I was like, ugh. But also cool. Whoever did the voice actor for on that part was fabulous.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this with Anthony, but like, there's a level of, you know, playing the hot, suave, you know, character is one thing, but also it's kind of fun to the monsters.
Yeah, yeah. Because you get to try like new vocal techniques and stuff.
There's a level beyond that you have to do for that. Instead of if you just have a pretty voice. I mean, again, not saying that they don't work hard, but there's a level of that. There's a more difficult element to that, to keep that consistent.
A different level.
Ooh, oh God. Because, I mean, obviously the graphic audio is good because you get to hear, like, it getting cut off unlike a real audiobook. So it's like when the surreal starts to talk, the fact that you hear the arrow before it pierces the surreal was like, oh, it just had more of an impact.
At an already impactful scene.
And then just hearing Ianthe's voice again just, like, made me so livid. Yeah, whoever did her voice actor, that was like, I hate to say it, but yeah, your voice is spot on for that character.
Hate love.
So then, of course, chapter 58, especially like cool climactic music of the foreboding steps of Ianthe, like walking up, was cool. As Feyre's monologuing to herself, like, okay, too hyper, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That was cool. And then hearing her monologue was gross because it almost seemed like her voice changed. Like before this level of Ianthe, the priestess, come bride. And then this just bitchy sounding of just like, well, Tamlin told me all about this. It almost sounded like she did in the memory that of Rhysand's. It just sounded like it was similar to the memory, which we didn't really hear much of Ianthe that way. So it was cool to see.
Yeah.
Also, it was such a subtle thing. I didn't bring it up in the main section because it didn't really matter then, but I love when she's running through the woods toward the Weaver's cottage and this romantic music under the remembrance of she's like, oh yeah, that's where, like, you know, he told me, do you like the sight of me kneeling before you?
Yeah.
So romantic. But I loved that little, because it was like she was remembering it, but as still running.
Right. She's like, oh, that was sweet. Oh yeah, back to the chase.
Yeah. And of course, the last chapter was, I mean, Striga's voice was on point. The music, she actually sounded pleasant, which she didn't sound last time.
Right.
Because all we heard was like, when she was, you know, as a, like, she sounded very witch-like.
Right. Or now it's just like, who have you brought?
Yeah, it was that was pretty spot on.
Oh, yay.
And then I also liked the music sounded pleasant. Like, it's almost like the music was entrapping us a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it was very, like, pleasant, and then all of a sudden, just this very boom, crash, and then screams.
Which is calling back to the first time with the Striga of just like, well, technically she was making the music at the time, you know, singing, and then it was boom, crash, and fear. But definitely, Ianthe and her goons screaming was, I typically don't like yelling and screaming, but fuck, it was so satisfying.
That's the kind of the screams of the dying and injured that we appreciate.
I don't think we'd want to hear moans over that, but because we want to stop and listen to those screaming.
Honestly, I have read books though where like there could totally be somebody being tortured in the next room, like somebody who deserved it, and then the main couple just being like, "Yeah, you guys, you want to fuck?" Like, honestly, that's such a book talk thing. I'm not gonna. It probably exists.
Only on book talk would you hear that.
It probably does exist. I'm not gonna lie. And then, of course, I mean, the whole scene. I mean, we beat by beat it already, but she's goddamn the sad music on top of the Surreal's death of just hearing like the, I don't want quote unquote wet sounds of death because again, it got shot in the throat.
So it's like blood was gurgling out and
yeah. So it was more like, I mean, I don't say rated R, but it was more like it was gory. And dude, Melody, I don't give her enough credit. I feel like sometimes because I have a kryptonite. I focus on the men, but I wanted to give her due for this part. Like, I mean, her narration is just great overall, but especially this because she went from like being really strong to being like badass with Ianthe to just a complete wreck.
Yeah.
Of like, please, no. Like, it wasn't just an immediate shift either. She at first was very hopeful. She's like, I can fix it. I can fix you. It's like, what can I do? You know, and then the realization that it's actually dead.
The realization that there is nothing you could do except for stay with it.
Yeah, it was just, and especially her talking about how, you know, her huntress days, she knows when an animal's dying.
Yeah.
Or about to die.
Yeah.
It was just so cool. And of course, hearing her weep was rough.
Yeah.
And yet, I think we also heard the Phantom Wind, I think, too. There was like kind of a, God, it was spot on. Definitely makes me cry every time I listen to the graphic audio.
I haven't gone back to listen to that part again.
Yeah.
It's just very hard for my heart. hard.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend listening to that over again. Would I recommend listening to a Cassian scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all the notes that I have for the graphic audio section.
Well done.
Well, yeah, so that's the end of our episode, folks. I thank you guys for listening, watching, whichever way you're doing it. So yeah, just a couple of housekeeping things before we go. Please follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Please, like, follow us, comment if you so do wish. Please join our Discord. It's free now. Liesl's been running it. I've also been posting stuff. I've been posting some stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
The link is kind of messing up, so I might just send it out to anybody who sets up a free. We had a couple people add us on free for the Patreon, so thank you to all those people.
Or message us if you want to join.
Yeah, because the link's been a little bit, it's been expiring and shit, so I don't know. So yes, follow those. And then again, if you so do wish, and please do, follow us on Patreon for free, and or if you would like to support us in that way, please, we have 2 tiers, the High Fae and the Inner Circle. The High Fae is only $3 a month, and the Inner Circle is $5 a month, with early video access, early audio access, and archival footage of us from our old days, Jesus. And actually, if you want to read my crack notes that Liesl has said throughout this whole thing, you can also find them there too.
They're wonderful. They bring me joy.
Yeah, so our next, it's going to be, we only have technically 6 episodes left.
That's insane.
Which is wild. We're almost getting to the end, man. So next episode will be episode 10, and we will be going over chapter 61 to the end of 65. So again, another technically short one, but that one's not going to be short.
So technically, in terms of number of chapters, it's short.
But it's jam-packed. So if you know, you know. Wink, wink. But yeah, do you have anything to say to the people before we leave?
We love you. I hope you will recover after the Surreal's death. And maybe I'm saying that for me as well.
Yeah, and if you want to put other people like I have to Liesl and my mom and even my dad through this emotional wreck of a roller coaster, please recommend our podcast to them.
Or F in chat.
Or yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah, but if there's other people who like ACOTAR and you want them to start listening to it and you recommend our podcast, please do. But also recommend it to the people that just want to reread ACOTAR and want to hear people's thoughts about it, because we definitely have thoughts and we definitely have opinions. So please do share it with anybody you can. Review it. It helps any podcast platforms that it helps any podcast in general to rate and review. So please do that. So we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye.